Welcome to the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast with Vicki Noethling. You are about to discover impactful lessons that help you grow as an individual, grow your confidence, and find the positive and good within you, so you powerfully and authentically become the best version of yourself. Be sure you visit our website at www.findyourleadershipconfidence.com. While you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now tune in, get ready, and enjoy the journey of emerging as a leader of exception in the 21st century.
Welcome, everyone, to the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast. I'm your host, Vicki Noethling, coming to you from Roswell, Georgia. The goal of this podcast is to bring topics and guests that will empower you to become that confident leader and take your business and your life to the next level. Today, I am really excited to introduce to you Coach Karen Gray. And let me tell you about Karen. She is a ICF Certified Life and Business Coach and co-founder of and CEO of Gray Legacy Partners. There she supports women executives, business owners, and leaders to successfully get paid what they deserve in the empowering. Just one second. Today's guest is Karen Gray, and let me tell you about Karen. As an ICF Certified Life and Business Coach and co-founder and CEO of Gray's Legacy Partners, Karen supports women executive business owners and leaders to successfully get paid what they deserve as they create a life and career they don't feel a need to escape from. So true. She specializes in empowering women all over the world to embrace their unique strengths, scars, and stories in order to reclaim their voice, pursue their passions, and discover their VQ, value awareness, using her own corporate experience in financial services, her transition to entrepreneur, her own adoption journey, and battle with self-worth. Karen can speak personally about issues facing professionalism, her high-achieving women, including insecurity, imposter syndrome, negative mindsets, toxic leadership, self-control, hormones, and the balance between corporate and spiritual world with a dose of humility, humor, and grace. As the host and founder of the Rock Movers podcast, Karen uses her calm and soothing voice to give others a voice in bringing awareness to amazing humans who are out there moving rocks out of their life's baggage and using them as stepping stones for future success. Today, we're going to awaken your passion, potential, and prosperity. Please join me in welcoming my guest, Coach Karen Gray. So excited to talk about all these things. I love how aligned your podcast is and mine.
They truly are.
And what you do. I mean, it's just as I'm reading and it's like, oh my gosh, I should just update my profile to say so.
Take it, steal it all, steal it all. There are no new ideas. We're just repurposing others.
That's so true. So we always start with some easy questions and welcome as my guest today.
Thank you.
First easy question is, and I sometimes get tripped up by this one, but where do you call home? Where do you live right now?
So I live in the Dallas, Texas area. I grew up in New Mexico, but Texas is really home. I love Texas, and yeah, I'm in the Dallas area, so it's hot right now still.
Yeah, I know. Well, I kind of situation similar. I'm from originally Pittsburgh, and I've now lived here in Atlanta area longer than I lived in Pittsburgh. I moved when I was 29. And so I call this home, but I refer to Pittsburgh still as home whenever I'm going there.
Yeah.
But this is where I love, and it is hot still here. It was 96 yesterday.
Yeah. Little parts of my heart are in several different places: New Mexico, Florida, Mexico, and then Dallas.
Awesome. Oh, so cool. Well, today I want you to start out by, I always give like these wonderful things you're doing today or you've recently accomplished and how you help people. But I really always love for you to share the backstory. Explain to the folks so they can understand that it didn't happen overnight, that you had a journey, that you really had your own struggles, challenges, and you overcame them. So tell us about that journey.
Thank you. Yeah, it's funny how we say that person's an overnight success, and it's like a 45-year overnight success.
That's right.
Not quite 45 years in that journey, but so I did start out as a really young mom. Graduated, had my son the next month, and really did everything the hard way. I was really, really, I'm an experiential learner. I love to just jump right in and do everything wrong at least once so I can figure out what to help people to avoid. I'm sure there's a method to that madness, but I talk about my adoption journey and how that impacted me, and it truly did. I lived so much of my life as someone set out to people please, and I didn't want anybody to not love me, to abandon me, all of those underlying thoughts that I really didn't know were running the show at the time. And it created a lot of trauma responses and a lot of bad choices, trying to just keep all the balls in the air and everybody happy. And to be quite like just really blunt, because I don't believe in, masking anything anymore. 3 marriages, 3 divorces later, I was just at a place where I finally came to myself in the mirror and said, I don't like who I've been. I don't like how I feel, and I want to do something different. And at that point, I had been coaching. I had left financial services after 30 years and had been coaching part-time, working for the Cancer Society. And I really just wanted to go to the next level. And it was like I hit this wall of, if I go past this, I knew there was no going back. And it was going to take a complete life change. And I was resistant to it because I knew the monster in the darkness, staying in that pain, staying in that self-sabotaging cycle. I knew that was familiar. And we talk about, like, why would that person stay in an abusive situation, or why would that person continue to self-sabotage and create these problems? It's because you know how to handle that. And I took the leap in 2008 and just bet on me and started going into really more intentional healing and more intentional work, and really trying to discover who I possibly could be if I didn't buy into my own story.
So much in there. Oh my goodness.
Gosh, everything changed. And was it easy? No. Was it overnight? Absolutely not. I still did everything the hard way, but I began to pull back all the layers and uncover all of these rocks that I was carrying, which is why my podcast is called Rock Movers. I realized at one point I put the rocks in my bag. I did that to me. Like, what the heck was I thinking? And I got to just pull that rock out. So my rock of adoption, it was like, okay, yeah, I'm adopted. What does that mean? I get to choose. I choose that it makes me really empathetic and sympathetic, and it makes me have 4 different families. And I'm really grateful for that. And okay, I'm going to lay that one down, and I'm just going to carry the families and the love and all the extra things that came with that. Great. That feels better. And I did that with everything: abuse, divorce, bad choices. Everything taught me something. Everything made me who I was. And at the end of that, it was like, wow, now I need to do something with all these lessons. What do I do? How do I help people differently? And that just kind of
Now,
led to this.
now you're doing this.
Now I'm doing this. So,
Yeah. It's the second time I've heard the analogy about the rocks, and it's such a visual one. Whenever you just think about it, it's all that weight you're carrying on your back, which makes you
mhm,
tired and frustrated and feeling that you just can't take another step and that self-awareness. And I love that you talk about empathy, because that self-awareness that you finally give yourself permission to say no,
yeah,
not anymore. And so many people don't do that. And it was great that you talked about the fact that that's comfortable, even
mhm,
though it's painful and you really shouldn't do it, but you just put on those blinders,
yeah. I mean,
that
it's the same thing
mask.
with our diets,
Oh
right? Like,
yeah. Oh yeah.
I know I shouldn't eat that Reese's cup. I know it. I know what the consequence is going to be. Um, but there is something soothing in that sabotage. And
Hmm.
we choose it for a couple reasons. One, because there is a part of us that doesn't feel deserving of good things,
Yeah.
doesn't feel worthy, doesn't feel valuable. And so we perpetuate that
Mm.
story, that language, that feeling, and affirm it. And so by bringing that into the light, I had to face that, which was really uncomfortable, like
Mm.
really uncomfortable. But I hired a coach to what help. I was aware of it. I needed to go through this, but I need someone to help me see what I can't see. I have all these
Mm.
blind spots. I don't know how to navigate through them. So I hired a coach, and man, she was tough. She didn't let me get away with anything. She would just she was from New Zealand, and she would be like, I'd go into my story. She's like, wow, you really buy all that bullshit, don't you? And I'd be like, yeah, I
Yeah,
do.
I do. I have the t-shirt.
Oh, t-shirt, bumper sticker, shot glasses, magnet, I got it all. Um, and one day she's like, when are you ready to flip the switch? And I was like, what switch? And she calls it a F it switch. And it's like, you just go, F it, not one day longer, not one more day, not one more moment. Am I going to sit in this
Yeah.
and be okay with this? And you just like turn the light on,
Mm.
and you just become aware and you stay aware.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you tell us about the VQ that we mentioned in the beginning and how it can
Yeah.
help someone really have a better life, live better, have more
Hmm.
money, all those things?
Yeah. Thank you for bringing that up, because it seems so simple,
Yeah,
and it truly,
but
truly is. It's not easy, but it's simple, because when you don't think you deserve good things, when you don't think you're valuable, you're not going to perceive them. You're not going to receive them. You're not even going to chase good things. You're like, yeah, I have that dream, but it's out there. It's never something that's here that you feel that you
Mhm.
could have. And that's where the self sabotage comes in. That's where the imposter syndrome rises up, because if good things happen, somehow in your head, in your heart, you feel like you don't deserve it, and someone's going to realize. They're going to
Mhm.
figure out that I'm
Mhm.
not this smart, that I'm not this fill in the blank.
Mhm.
And so when we truly become aware of what makes us valuable, and again, it's so simple, but when we understand it, apply it, embrace it, fully take it on, then you create a new boundary that is impenetrable,
Mhm.
because that value is completely irrefutable. Like you can't argue it. And once you know your value and you feel it and you've created that boundary, Now you're aware of it in all situations, and now you can defend it. Now you can honor it. Now you can align with it. Now it becomes part of your vernacular, it becomes part of your expectations. And now you begin to receive abundance. You begin to receive the things that you truly desire because they're there for a reason. Now you know how to align to it.
Can you just kind of give some clarity for the audience between VQ and ego?
Yeah, great question. So oftentimes we hear ego and we refer to it in a negative connotation, right? That person's got such an ego, right? We hear that all the time. But our ego is actually our ally, it's there to keep us safe. Now, can it do crazy, insane, stupid things? Yes. Yes, it can. But our ego is really a subconscious part of our brain that in our existence that is there to recognize trauma, danger, anything. And its job is just to keep you safe. That's it. It's just doing its job. So there are oftentimes when that job is actually being lived out in a negative way or what we would perceive as negative. So it could be self sabotaging, it can be pushing people away, it can be acting in a way that you really don't want to act, yet in an effort to stay safe, because there are several things that the human does that we as people do that don't really make sense, but we do them unconsciously or subconsciously in an effort to find relevance, to find safety, security, stability, a sense of belonging. We do these things to just fill that human need. And the ego is one of those things that we use, and a tool that we utilize to stay safe. Now, value, or our VQ, recognizes when you understand your value and you're aware of it, which is what VQ represents. There is an equation that VQ plus A, so your value plus the awareness of it, equals your ability to receive. And so that ego, you can recognize it and say, okay, ego, I see you. Thank you for being that part of me trying to keep me safe. And I'm going to ask you to sit down because I'm aware I'm taking control again. And now my value is running the bus, right? We're on this bus and we're going down the highway and ego's driving and it's like running us into the ditch and it's trying to hide in the tunnels and keeping us in the dark and it's sabotaging relationships because that relationship could be scary. We could get hurt. That big job offer, although we want it, what if they don't want us and then I'm hurt again, right? So it's going to do all of these things to keep you safe, to keep people away. Because people equals danger, scary. Just they do. Humans are scary. But when you understand that and you understand that the ego has a purpose, self-sabotaging has a purpose, and you can recognize what it is, then you can now manage from that place. And value is just this baseline. When you understand, and I'm just going to like spell it out super simple, because you're here, because you have breath, because you have a purpose and a plan for your life that's greater than any one thing or any one purpose, you are therefore valuable. Period. End of story. Exclamation point. Whole sentence. Like you're valuable. You just are. Vicki, you're valuable. You're not more valuable, less valuable than me. I'm not more valuable, less valuable than you. We all have a reason we're here. Will the world go on without us? Absolutely. Does the world need us? Absolutely. So those two can exist at the same time.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that. So let's talk a little bit about that fear that just pops up every so often in what we've been talking about today. What are you afraid of and how have you faced fear and overcome it?
I feel like my greatest fear in the past and still subconsciously is the fear of not being valuable, not being worthy, not being good enough to be loved, accepted, and belong. That came from the journey of my adoption,
Right.
being abandoned at birth, not adopted until I was several months old. There is something that happens to a human baby when they're not held, when they cry, and that cry is not responded to in the way that instinctually a human mother should respond to a human baby. Babies stop crying. And one of the things that my adopted parents always said was that I was such a good baby, I never cried. And to hear that, you're like, oh, that's warm fuzzy. No, that is deeply sad because I learned at 2 months of age, at 2 months old, that when I cried, nobody would come.
Nobody answers you.
And so just that lesson created such a cavernous fear that I was alone in this world, that I was abandoned. My primal need of just being held and belonging would never be met. And so I never thought about it as a kid. I never realized it until way into my 40s when I did the healing work. But just that subconsciously drove everything I did as a young kid, as an adult, as a mom, everything. And so my fear is that fear of insignificance and not belonging and not being valuable enough to be loved. And so consciously now I'm aware of it. So when I see things that like, oh, there's that little monster rearing up his head again, I can make a choice. And that is such a gift to just be able to pull it out back into the light, say, I see you, and I recognize where you're coming up. And thank you. You can have a seat again.
Back of the bus.
Back of the bus.
So, what's the number one thing that impacts women as leaders today? You know, that's one of the reasons why I do this podcast. And it is focused on women leaders. And I have my story about it. But what is that number one thing that impacts women from not really getting all the things that they can get out of leadership?
I created that question because everybody wants the one thing.
Yeah, but
we want the silver bullet. We want the one answer. And I would say there's not really one anymore. I used to believe that there was. However, one of the main things is this sense that women, or this belief rather, that women have to do it all. And that because we can do all of it, that we have to do it all at the same time. And by doing that, we're not focusing our attention on any one thing. And then we begin to drop balls, or we begin to feel burnout. We begin to recognize areas that don't serve us, areas that don't bring us joy, yet we still feel obligated to keep it going, keep that ball in the air. Education, kids, career, spouse, relationships, parents, all the things, our health, our own things that we need. And at some point, there is this realization that this just is exhausting. It doesn't serve me, and I don't even like it anymore.
Yeah.
And then we feel guilty because, well, this is what a good woman, a good mom, a good wife is supposed to do. And now I'm resenting that obligation being put onto me. And then you realize I'm doing all of this to myself. I'm making these choices. Yes, it may be my learned perceived expectation through my lens of experience of life. But I'm still putting those rocks in my bag. I'm still the one picking all of that up, and I get to choose. And so, um, the greatest superpower to combat that one thing that we feel like we have to pick it all up is the permission and grace to just choose the things that serve us and release the things that don't. Maybe we outsource them. Maybe we just let them go. Maybe we delegate them to our kids, our family, our friends, people that work with us, work for us, and just choose the things that truly light us up and bring us joy. And that is such a different perspective of living fully. And I think that's when you can truly lead from a place that is so powerful and impactful when you give others permission to let them go too.
Yeah. One of the things as you were talking, I thought, we put those rocks in our backpack, but we allow others to put them in too.
100%. Yes. Thank you for pointing that out. Yeah. We don't always pick it up, but we always allow the things that are in our bags. They're not necessarily forced upon us. And what I mean by that, because some things just happen to us, we can't control all the circumstances. Childhood abuse, spousal abuse, anything. There are things that just happen. You have to do things in life. But the difference of whether you're carrying it in your bag or not is a choice.
Yeah.
Because you can experience something and not continue to carry it.
Yeah. I always share, I didn't go to college until I was in my late 40s, and I graduated at 50, and it was almost the whole college experience. I thought to myself, college is wasted on young kids because at that point I had life experiences for, so many years, 40 or 25 years or so. And it was easier. It was easier. And I just thought, all this time I didn't think that I was good enough. I didn't know enough, and because I didn't have that degree. And then I realized, especially when I matriculated a year worth of learning, that geez, I do know a lot.
I love
And
that.
so but I was one of those people that I just let people tell me that I wasn't good enough because, and that was so untrue. And at 50, it was like, I'm not going to listen to anybody anymore. I'm going to listen to my gut and that made my life so much better, so much richer. And that, that's what I want for the young people today that are out there trying to be perfect or live up to the expectations of others and forget about themselves. What are you passionate about? What do you really want to do to be prosperous, and how can you live up to your potential?
My I had a mentor. I went to him for career planning when I was, oh gosh, I think I was 25 when I met him in Florida, Tallahassee. I was attending Florida State and didn't know what I wanted to be. I was just going part-time because I was not single mom. I was a young mom with 2 kids. And I went to him and I'm like, well, this person says I should do this. And this person says I should do this. And, all these things. And he said, you know what? I'm going to tell you something. He was an older gentleman, very fatherly figure, loved him, became just such a dear friend. And he said, other people's opinions about your life is none of your business. And I was just like, what does that even mean? And then I just sat with that thought. And the more I thought about it, and as the years have passed, that statement is so true.
Yeah.
What other people think of you, whether they think you're a failure, a success, that's through their lens. That's about them, how you make them feel. It has nothing to do with you. Whether they think you should be a nurse or a doctor or a stay-at-home mom, again, that's their story.
Yeah.
And just, it's so liberating when you
Mm-hmm.
can take other people's opinions and go, wow, thank you for that. And
Yeah.
just let it go.
Yeah, for sure. So we're about out of time, but I wanted to ask you one last question. Whenever you're talking about coaching people, and a lot of folks out there are trying to get to having high performance teams, and so as a woman, what do what don't people or women know about high performing or high achieving women in leadership or business that we should recognize? And again, I have my own thoughts on it, but I'd love to hear yours.
Gosh, I have so many thoughts about that. I would say there has been a culture of feminine, the perception that feminine equals weak
Hmm.
and masculine equals strong.
Hmm.
And I think that that is completely a misunderstanding of the two types of energy, two types of presence.
Right.
Um, for me, feminine is a perception of who you're being, like how you
Hmm.
are nurturing, loving, kind, doesn't necessarily mean weak. You can be a
Yeah.
mother is super strong. The
Hmm.
things that we go through, the pain that we go through, like just that feminine presence can be super strong and like a statue, like you're just
Yeah.
strong. So I think women believe that they have to be something other than who they are to be perceived as strong.
Mm.
And there is an underlying contentious nature in corporate America, especially of competition between women. I don't think
Yeah.
men have not necessarily have it in the way that women do. And I think it's instinctual. I think it's primal. And I think it's something that we can make a cognitive choice about and do differently and do better as women. I
Yeah.
think as women, we owe it to women and our male counterparts to do better. But we can lead with grace and integrity and a strong presence if that's who you are. If you're someone that's loud and boisterous and funny and outgoing, that's okay too. The truth is, we should not compromise our
Hmm.
inherent
Yeah.
strengths. We should utilize them and allow others to utilize them as well. And I think it's important for women, especially, but leaders as you go up the ranks to know that the higher you go, the bigger the level, the bigger the devil in some cases, that your imposter syndrome may be, even stronger.
Yeah.
And so if you deal with that, manage it, learn how to navigate it now or whatever level you're at, um, it will be easier to manage in the other levels. And you can assist others in those levels. So, um, I think just expecting people to fit into a box
Yeah.
rather than just embracing their strengths and really finding out, what are you truly passionate about? What are you truly good at? Let's find a place for that, and treating people as humans rather than feeling like here's a need for the business. Let's just fill it. No, let's find the people that align with the company and then put them in the right places. Give them the right support.
Mhm.
That's how you
Eh,
really build an impenetrable team. I can't even say
uh-huh.
it today.
You got it. But I think that's what folks need to really listen to it. And, again, it's why I do what I do too, is because leaders need to know that you have to build relationships. You have to find out about the people that work for you.
Yeah.
And when you're hiring people, you need to ask those questions about character and behavior. You can teach them all those
Mm-hmm.
other,
Right.
Lotus. I always say Lotus to make people think how old I am, but all of the computer skills and the processes and policies. You can teach everybody all that, but they're the only person that controls their behavior and who they are and how they, what their values are. And
Yeah.
when you are looking for someone, that's what you want to find. And I always hated whenever I was hiring people and I had a new mom or a mom that's come back into the workforce, and there was so much doubt about the fact that they were gone for. But I'm thinking, all those things that you had to do as a mom
Right.
to are skills that will translate easily into the office,
Yeah.
and having that caring, empathetic mindset was such an asset when, things got kind of tough or whatever. So,
100%. I think
um,
that you can hire the soft skills and teach the hard skills. You can
yeah,
teach someone how to code, you can teach someone how
yeah,
to do a task. You can't teach them how to care, you can't teach them how to communicate, you can't teach them how to be respectful
yeah,
and to have EQ.
yeah,
You can improve
absolutely.
someone's IQ, but that emotional intelligence is something that you know really takes the deep work. And those are the skills I
So true.
think as a millennial and this new generation, we've deprived them of because of the nature of going virtual and everything being so disconnected.
Hmm.
I think those are the skills that are really imperative right now, um, for relationships, for those
Yeah,
interpersonal, really deep relationships. And that saying, people don't know, I think it's Maya Angelou, people don't care what you know until they know that you care.
yeah,
Um, that hasn't been more true than today.
yeah. And I think that's one of the reasons why I love doing the podcast, because one of the things that I teach from the professional speaking
Mm-hmm.
and coaching aspect is that even in this virtual environment, you can get just like in the conversation we're having and just forget
Yeah.
that you're online, you're virtual, and that's what leaders need to do with their remote workers is they just need to have pretend this is the copy
Mm-hmm.
machine that you're just doing a task and having a conversation with someone as that task
Yeah.
is being done, or going to lunch together with them and say, hey, let's have lunch together. You're in Pittsburgh, I'm in Atlanta, and let's just have lunch on this and just chat and talk about not the office, not, the task, but
Yep.
just how was your day? How was your weekend? What did you do? Or where'd you go on your vacation? All of those can still be used to build relationships, and that makes them feel value.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. And I think that the best teams have the deepest interpersonal relationships and they're
Hmm.
the most loyal. So you have the least amount of turnover. People will stay if they're treated well and they know that you care.
Yeah.
Yes, if that happens and they have the money, they'll be motivated by the money. That's great. But if they're miserable, if they're disrespected, if they don't feel valued, at some point that money won't be enough for what they
Yeah.
have to put up with. And they'll
No.
find another place that will pay them
Hmm.
the same or less to have a better environment.
Yeah, and I think too, it comes back to self-awareness too, because
Mm-hmm.
granted, a lot of times it is that manager or person that you have that's overseeing you that is the problem, but sometimes it's you.
Yeah.
And so you may go to another place and find that that's happening still again. And
Mm-hmm.
that's when you really do have to take a hard look in the mirror to see what is it that I need to do that will bring out what I really care about and unlock or discover the potential that I have
Yeah.
that will allow me to be prosperous, that will allow me to be happy, that won't make my job, but just a joy.
I think that is so important at every level that everyone should start with an eye exam, as in, what am I doing to create this this story? If I see patterns in my life and my history, obviously the common denominator is me. But to have a team that, if you have a team, to have support that's a third party, so to have someone come in to really ask the hard questions, have a safe place to receive the answers, and then to have a company and management that actually looks at it from a perspective that they don't take it personal, right? This is a how do we grow opportunity, and what is the work that really needs to be done. Because when you hire the right people, you treat them the right way, you have aligned goals, everybody is bought into and has a stake in the success. We all rise together in that situation. So I think that creates the best, most successful teams, organizations, and companies.
So very true. Well, I could talk to you all day long, but I know it's time for us to wrap
When you
this up.
agree, it's so easy to have these conversations. We both see the same values. So thank you for this opportunity, and for the just the affirmation that what we're doing matters. I really, really appreciate what you're doing.
Absolutely. So it's time now to share my screen. So if you are just listening, you know the drill. I tell you every time, but go grab a paper and pencil, or go after when this is out there, it will be on my YouTube channel, Vicki Noethling. So please subscribe, or go to findyourleadershipconfidence.com. It will be in the show notes. So the website is coachkarengray.com. Again, that's Coach Karen Gray, and Gray is Gray, not EY.com. Facebook is Coach Karen Gray. Instagram is Coach Karen Gray, but initial cap that. YouTube is at Coach Karen Gray. LinkedIn is Coach Karen Gray. So guess what?
I try to make it super simple.
Yes, I always tell them they could send you thank you cards. So again, if you just search for Coach Karen Gray, you will find her. Her podcast is Rock Movers. So you'll remember that, because you're going to remember the story about the fact that you keep putting rocks in your back and weighing yourself down, and you need to stop doing that. You need to move those rocks. So that podcast is Rock Movers. I'm going to turn it over to Karen to talk to you about her call to action today, and what you might find if you go to her website, as well as any of those social media sites that she spends the most time, so you could DM her and get some quick responses. So Karen, it's all yours.
Thank you, Vicki. I love, love, love to support, especially our executive women, those who are leading. And so if you go to my website, you'll find that I have an offer for a mastermind group that's starting. You can get a self-worth archetype quiz for free, tap into my mini confidence course for only $27. And then that gives you a free month inside the mastermind. And I believe that executive women need to be supported in a way that's outside of their internal circle, so that you have a safe place to be vulnerable. You have a safe place to share all the hard things. It's not being dumped all over your spouse, your significant other, or your team. And so being around a group of peers that understand you, that get those challenges, that maybe can help you brainstorm like a think tank, is exactly what we've created with the Worthy Woman Mastermind. So you can check out those resources. There's several others, but I'm just here to be a support of someone that's been down this path, move those rocks. I totally get it. I understand. And I'm here to hold space for that. So thank you for the opportunity to share those. And also my rock movers, I'm sharing lots of great resources, women like Vicki, other men that have great support and resources for you to be the best version of you that you can be.
Fantastic, Karen. It's just, as I said, been a great pleasure to have our conversation today. I think you shared wonderful tips, wonderful advice, and stories that will help the audience become awaken their passion, their potential, and their prosperity. So
Thank
thanks for
you.
being an awesome guest.
Thank you. Thanks for holding space and just making a path for me to follow with your rocks. So thank you for that.
Thanks so much. As always, I remind everyone that life is a journey, and it's up to you to enjoy the ride. This is Vicki Noethling signing off.
Thank you for tuning into the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast with Vicki Noethling, where we share impactful lessons that help you grow as an individual, grow your confidence, and find the positive and good within you so you powerfully and authentically become the best version of yourself. Remember to visit our website at www.findyourleadershipconfidence.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast.